What's up, YouTube? Mr. Surplus Nut bringing the second part to this series of videos that I'm going to be making. Especially, now I'm really happy that I just finished buying this M44 to complete my Mosin Nagant collection. If you're just tuning in to this video, I would really like to ask you to check out the first part, and from here on all the other parts. Subscribe to my channel, become friends, whatever you want to do. I'm a cool guy. Just check me out and subscribe to my channel, and there's a lot of good videos on there. But anyways, going back to this, I left off talking about the rifling on this M44, how it's in such a great shape. I can't wait to go to the range and shoot this gun. It's got everything. Got the sling for it. You can get the all the different stuff that comes with it. If you just buy one and it doesn't come with it, that's fine. I mean, just be happy that you got an M44. And again, one of the things I want to emphasize is that these rifles, surplus guns, are drying up. I mean, in most of all my videos, I really bring up this point because I need to let people know. I mean, lately there's more people trying to get into the surplus collecting, surplus rifles, collection, and they're finding out that a lot of the guns that before, years back, were out there in the market for free, and there were tons of them to pick and choose. Now there's nothing. I mean, and these things are drying up. You go to a gun show and you find Mosin Nagants that they look like they pulled it out of the bridge, under a bridge, from the river, and it got run over by a few trucks, and then they're laying on the table trying to sell it. It's really hard to find decent Mosin Nagants, and for the most part, the ones you do find, they have been shot out. The board inside the barrel, it's worn out. Some of them have different dimensions, meaning that the more wear the rifle has received inside the barrel, it's gonna be a lot bigger. The size of the actual barrel inside, because of the wear of the rifling, and some of them, you might find some that they're in very good shape. Some of them, for the most part, you're gonna find them that they're really dark, but they do have strong rifling, and especially if they're not counterbored, they'll be good shooters. Also, don't get discouraged for this thing that you hear, counterbore. That was just a measure that they did where they drilled back the rifling to be able to redo the crown. Like, they'll do it like an inch up to 2 inches back from the muzzle end of the barrel, and they'll start a new crown right where the rifling ends up in really good shape. And that was just a countermeasure that they did just to accurate the rifles more, because the crown of the barrel is one of the main things. Besides the rifling and the overall shape of the barrel, you have a terrible crown, you're not going to be accurate. Okay, so that's what they did. They counterbored the barrels. My M38 is counterbored and it shoots great. Now, don't expect these rifles to be like a precision bench rest rifles, like the one, like if you check out my channel, I'm a bench rest shooter. Okay, and I have a rifle that will shoot 5 shots inside a little dot like the size of a dime at 100 yards. I mean, go check out my videos. Okay, I do have a couple of sniper rifles, have a few target rifles. I reload and all that, so I'm very knowledgeable on this. But a lot of times I see on YouTube guys trying to accurate these military rifles to the point that they want them to shoot like freaking bench rest precision rifles, and you're not gonna get that. Okay, these are military rifles. They are designed to hit, listen to this, a man-sized target okay, or the torso of a man's at 100, 200 yards, okay. And if you get a very decent Mosin Nagant with good rifling, good crown, you know, let's just say it's not counterbore, you know, to use it as an example, I'll guarantee you, whether, yeah, it is true that on the M44s, they were designed and they were sighted and to shoot with the bayonet extended out. Okay, that's how you get the best accuracy out of them. Now, when you go shoot it at some ranges, shooting range, they might not allow you to pull out the bayonet, but they were designed to pull out the bayonet and shoot it with the bayonet extending. Okay, that's how you get the best grouping. You're gonna get grouping, like the best grouping with the bayonet extended and hooked up on the tip of the barrel. Now, listen to this. If you fold it back, I've heard of M44s that if you fold it back like this one is and you shoot it like that, it'll shoot a little bit to the right, maybe because of the counterweight. Some guys will take out the screw and they'll completely remove the bayonet, and then they end up finding out that it shoots a little bit now to the left or maybe a little up, a little high. And why? Because you have the fixed welded lug that holds the bayonet, screw and all that, you know, on the barrel. You really, to have a precision rifle, you shouldn't have nothing on your barrel. When you see a bench rest rifle, you're not gonna see nothing on the barrel. Okay, I don't even like to put on mine like the heat shield. There's like two that goes with two little velcros, and it's like a little plastic on top, so you won't get that mirage rising up out of the heat of your barrel and messing up the visibility on your scope. I don't even like mounting a freaking heat shield on my gun, you know, just because of the resonance and vibration and all that on your barrel. You want that barrel to be free floated and nothing on it, not touching anything from the point that leaves your receiver, your action, all the way out to the tip of the muzzle. So I see guys, I mean, there's this guy that goes by Spartan something, I mean, and I respect him, you know, he's got pretty decent videos, whatever, a good channel, but you see him trying to get all these Mosin Nagants and inventing this, doing that, you know, to try to accurize these rifles. You know, they're not meant for that, you know. To be honest with you, if I find a really nice one that I can refurbish and it looks really nice, I'll be glad just to go to the range at 50 yards, shoot the target and hit the paper and just hear it go bang, just to experience that moment of when they were fired, like in the war or back, you know, in 1945, 44, 43, when they were fighting the Germans, just to experience that moment there of you know, or in hearing these guns go off, you know, just to see the muzzle flash, like the fire coming out of the tip. You know, that's because all the powder, since it's got only a 20 and a half inch long barrel, the barrel is only 20 and a half inches. What happens is when it gets fired, by the time that the bullet tip leaves the barrel, all the powder doesn't ignite. So it ignites as the powder flashes out of the barrel. That's why you get that fire flash. And it's really cool. I mean, you shoot these things at night and it's extremely impressive. And the kick that it has, the recoil. I mean, you go to the range and you shoot this thing, you shoot 300 rounds and you're there a few hours, 3 or 4 or 5 hours, and you come home and you're gonna come home with your shoulder sore. But that's, you know, that's the thing of the rifle. And, you know, but going back to what we were saying about accurizing the rifle, I mean, dude, my military rifles, I'm just happy the way they shoot. You know, if I have one that the barrel, like my K98 Mauser, you know, a 1939, very significant year. That was the first year of the war when Hitler invaded Poland, and you know, and it's a little bit worn out, a little bit dark. It shoots pretty good. Let's say at, you know, 75, 100 yards, it shoots like about 5-6 inch groups, open sight. I'm happy with that. You know, it'll hit an animal, it'll hit a man, you know, a man-sized target, and that's what it's for. It's a war rifle. That's not to be shot open sight and get freaking little tiny groups. You know, it's incredible how you see these guys, you know, that they buy the rifle and they categorize the rifle and the quality and the overall, you know, rifle for how good they can shoot. You're not going to get out of a military rifle that type of accuracy. You know, like carbines, I mean, they were, I mean, now you get an a Mazda Nagant M9130, you put a scope, even a modern scope, and those are a little bit more accurate, you know. But our carbine, these things were supposed to even be used out of, you know, the cavalry, the Russian cavalry. You know, that was one of the reasons why they thought about, besides going through urban cities and all those rubbles and buildings falling out, and it was more handy to move this rifle around. Besides all that, I mean, they were used a lot on the cavalry units, you know, and they needed something handy. So, and they were thinking about, you know, war, you know, scenarios. 100 yards, 75 yards, 150 the most. That's it, you know, and they're pretty accurate for that. So I wouldn't concentrate so much on you know, oh, I gotta accurize it. Let me get this M44 and try to free float the barrel, and the handguard cannot touch, and the bands are too tight. Listen, forget about that. Okay, you want a really accurate surplus rifle, the most surplus rifle there is, get a K31. Okay, that's a different story there. But we're not talking about the Schmidt-Rubin K31s. Okay, that's a different scenario, a different topic. Sorry. But anyways, going back to this, it's really nice. All matching serial numbers. The blueness is unbelievable. I am so happy that this guy, Jet Fuel 545, sold me this rifle, and I got all this set up here, and I wanted you guys to check out a video that I'm going to be uploading, because I had my daughter's boyfriend go to Russia on a vacation like about a week ago, and his parents, when they left Cuba, they went over there and studied over there and lived there for a little bit before they came here to the States. And so they have a lot of friends over there. So he just went over there like about a week ago, and I told him, "Little dude, if you're going over there," he went to Moscow. I go, "If you go over there, you gotta bring me some memorabilia, man. I need to have something, you know." And he brought me this flag, okay, which I'm gonna show to you guys on video. Just all the stuff he brought me. He brought me the flag. He brought me this authentic hat. It's got the real Russian tag. This is not like the one you buy at Amazon or eBay or a Russian store through the internet for 20-25 bucks, imitation fur. No, this is the real McCoy from Russia. And he brought me this military hat. That's the one that you can see in the movie Enemies at the Gate. Vasily Zaitsev, you know, when they're all, you know, getting loaded on the boats, and for the most part through the movie, that's the hat that they're wearing. And he bought me some coffee cups and some chocolate, you know, and I wanted to show you guys that, so I will be uploading a real short video on that. So just to let you know, I mean, if you guys can find you know, these type of rifles, buy them. Don't let them go by. And I mean, just go ahead and purchase it, man. I mean, there will be a time, and I'm telling you guys, 2 or 3 years, 4 or 5 years from now, 10 years from now, this thing will be so highly collectibles that you might want to sell it to make money, and then you might not, because you just want to let it go. But this is the time. Okay, I wish I would have bought a crate of these when they were going for 40 bucks. I would have bought it. Okay, I remember when these rifles were going for like $40. Okay, and the M38 at Classic Arms, they even had them where they had chromed them and everything. So I'll come back and show you guys the third part to this video.